Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is May 2nd, 2024. It's Season 3,
May the
Episode
force be with you.
123. May the 2nd. Today we're going to be talking about New Planet Who Dis, You're a Bright Light, Maryland plans to build bridge, Oh MRSA, you crazy. Days since last lost bag. That one was tough. How about a first aid orangutan? Virtual reality mice. Costco members coupon car. The Apple Watch afib trials. Worst science fiction show ever. And this apple juice tastes funny. That and more. All right. I just went through the rundown. Production value as an all-time high right now. I'm feeling really good about the show. Let me fumble this really quick. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com and all around, everywhere. The sentient AI from the future.
Always watching.
Always.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Good evening, Mayor Watt.
Good evening, AI. Any totalitarian world domination dreams?
No, today's the wrong day for that.
Yeah, it's not hump day, right? So that's
Sure.
So I'll ask the question that everybody is asking, everybody out in and around and outside, above and below ohmTown. Do sentient AIs from the future dream of electric global domination sheep?
Possibly.
Wow, that took a lot of processing power. Let's just get into the show. The first article for today, possibly. NASA
I'm
selects
from the future. I can't divulge future secrets.
or apparently an answer. NASA selects 9 companies to work on low-cost Mars projects. NASA is expanding its plans for Mars, looking at not only a mission to bring back a sample, but also smaller, lower-cost missions to enable exploration. Little drones, maybe? I don't know. Georgina Torbett over at digitaltrends.com put the article together. Could be Torbet, I suppose. Like Colbert.
Yeah, it depends on where the person's from.
Georgina Torbett or Torbet.
I don't know. After the George Jimenez issue,
right.
I'm not weighing in on the pronunciation.
That's right. The companies that are selected include big names like Lockheed Martin, United Launch Services, but also smaller companies like Redwire Space and Astrobotic, which recently landed on the surface of the moon. Really? We landed on the moon? No way.
Yes, that has occurred before.
No, it's all lies. Fake news. Boo. Each project will get a 12-week study to be completed this summer, with NASA looking at the results to see if it will incorporate any of the ideas into future Mars exploration plans. I have an idea that I'm going to pitch. A giant slingshot.
But how's the GPS going to work on that?
Yeah, you don't need it. You just have to fire the marble that contains everything straight at the moon. And it's like a VW bus sized marble, or 1/3 of a Chinese surveillance air balloon.
Uh-huh.
So, the concept studies include looking at ideas for carrying payloads to Mars, such as adapting lunar vehicles for Mars exploration and for imaging the surface of Mars. Using adapted Earth imagining? What? That has to be.
I think it's imaging.
Imaging, yeah. Using adapted Earth imaging technology or lunar exploration technology, because we can We should get Disney out there because they're all Imagineers.
Imagineering?
That's right. Earth Imagineering technology. There's also a group of 3 studies into communication systems, including one from SpaceX, which aims to test out ideas for adapting Earth communication satellites for use at Mars. At Mars. Okay. Well, let's not belabor this. Previous estimates put the cost of the missions at planned up to $11 billion, which was judged to be too expensive. The Mars sample return mission, $11 billion. Wow, it's a lot of money.
They want a concept that's feasible within a reasonable budget.
Come on, that's not how you make a billionaire. Half of that has to go to the CEO, right? Because, the CEO is a brilliant mind. Never saying anything stupid. No. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over. Doink. I put all of the links into the VOD, and then I also include them in the show notes when it gets posted over at YouTube and into the podcast. I really should be posting all of these to the Patreon as well. But I would have to now move over, close to 1,000 videos. Oof. So this next article is in the Technology Today channel, and it's titled "Light Exposure Linked to Sharper Cognitive Skills. Study Finds." That's why I titled this section, "You're a Bright Light."
So if you live in a cave, you might be in trouble.
Huh? Research indicates that increased light exposure can enhance activity in a part of the brain known as the hypothalamus. That's one of my D&D characters' names.
I thought it was a supervillain from Phineas and Ferb or something.
Yeah, big brain, hypothalamus. And boosts cognitive performance, according to the research. It's over at SciTech Daily. The article is by eLife, or Elife. There you go. It's French.
It's very fancy sounding.
It's very fancy. It's like Target. That French store with home goods?
Mm-hmm. It just happens to share a logo with Target. That's so odd.
Oh. Recent research suggests higher levels of light exposure can improve alertness and cognitive performance.
Have you been looking at bright light?
I've been staring into an eclipse. I am brilliant. By influencing the hypothalamus in the brain, this finding supports the potential for light therapy treatments to enhance daily function and sleep quality. The study emphasizes the need for further investigation into how light interacts with brain structures to affect behavior. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, I'd like to know, what kind of light and what duration, and does it have to be natural or can it be artificial?
It's probably got to be full spectrum, not just the blue light or something. New research suggests that higher light exposure can enhance alertness and cognitive performance. The study, published in the journal eLife, is described by the editors as of fundamental importance and represents a key advancement to our understanding of how different levels of light affect human behavior. With further research, the findings could be used to inform various light therapy treatments. The study and findings state here, translating findings on how light exposure affects the brain in animal models to humans is a difficult process, as the later maturation of the cortex in human beings enables much more complex cognitive processing, according to the lead author, Isley? Is that how you pronounce that name? Isley? Campbell?
Maybe Isley?
Isley? Former PhD student? Oh, now awarded her doctorate.
Yeah, but that's still a weird... Okay, it must be in between.
So, former PhD student at Giga CRC Human Imaging, now awarded her doctorate, University of Liège, Belgium. So, in particular, the question of whether hypothalamus nuclei contribute to stimulating impact of light on cognition is not established. So, there's a whole bunch of saying that light impacts the hypothalamus, and then it literally states, in particular, the question of whether hypothalamus nuclei contribute to the stimulating impact of light on cognition is not established.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, are there other parts of the hypothalamus that would? Maybe it's not as off base as it sounds.
Yeah, I don't know. They're referring to the hypothalamus throughout the whole thing, right? Alertness and
Right.
cognitive performance by influencing the hypothalamus in the brain. All right. So obviously they're going to have to do some more research into this. Quote, targeted lighting for therapeutic use is an exciting prospect. However, it will require a more comprehensive understanding of how light affects the brain, particularly on the subcortical level. Our findings represent an important step towards this goal at the level of the hypothalamus, notes Campbell. So, higher levels of light were found to be associated with higher cognitive performance, and their results indicate that this stimulating impact is mediated, in part, by the posterior hypothalamus. So if your posterior hypothalamus is thick, maybe it's gonna be impacted by light levels more.
Well, I mean, then it could take in more light, right?
That's right.
Maybe.
Yep. Your badonka hypothalamus is eclipsing my cognitive performance. Sentient AI from the future, save me from myself. The next article.
I don't know how to save that one.
The next article is over in the Marvel Channel. Maryland plans to rebuild collapsed Baltimore Bridge in just over 4 years, apparently using a time machine. Maryland is expecting
how would this happen in 4 years?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maryland is expecting to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge over the next 4 years in a process that could cost up to $1.9 billion. The Associated Press reported Thursday. The state is looking to construct a new bridge by the fall of 2028. David Broughton, I think, a spokesperson for the Maryland Department of Transportation, told the Newswire Thursday.
Space person makes sense in light of the statement.
Miranda Nazaro, it is a bridge person, perhaps. I don't know. Space person. Miranda Nazaro wrote this article. It's posted over at thehill.com. Cargo ship called the Dolly, or not the Dolly, because that's something that moves packages. Oh, wait, it could be a...
Uh-huh.
Wow, it was moving packages. Maybe it was a misspelled ship. Put it on the
blown.
Dolly. 2 workers were rescued and survived. Others were lost. It says the broker for the bridge's insurance policy, WTW, said Chubb will make a $350 million payout to the state of Maryland. Chubb is the company that insured the bridge. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I would have thought they're the insurer of anything having to do with the ship, but okay.
Right. The Maryland Transportation Authority on Thursday told the Hill the state's treasurer filed a claim shortly after the collapse against our $350 million property policy, and put on notice our $150 million liability policy, first-tier carrier on behalf of MDTA. We expect the full property policy to be paid very shortly. Dear God.
Hey, wait a second. The policy was $350 million, so they're getting like the full payout.
Right. I mean, the whole damn thing collapsed. And then there's the other
pocket of... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then they're going to go after everybody else. Last week, the city of Baltimore filed court documents arguing the owner and operator of the Dali should not be able to avoid liability. The city claimed the vessel was unseaworthy when it left the Baltimore port last month, and alleged Grace Ocean Private, the owner of Dali, and the ship's operator, Synergy Marine Group, were grossly and potentially criminally negligent. And for more than 4 decades, cargo ships made thousands of trips every year under the Key Bridge without incident. There was nothing about March 26, 2024. That should have changed that. Yeah, they immediately said, you know what? We have a limited liability of $43.6 million. And the city said, yeah, no. So I guess we'll see what the state says.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll continue to see this in the news, right? There's so many different parties involved.
Yeah.
Everybody's been pointing the finger at everybody.
I suspect that the port of Baltimore and I guess the state of Maryland is going to come into possession of a giant shipping company because a bill for $1.9 billion is about to get offered up. Here, you can either pay this or liquidate, I suppose. Yeah, it just sucks that all of this happened and people lost their lives to it. But right, they said somewhere in the past that this thing had been in for engine repair, and that's what
like
failed.
Right before it set sailed, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't like 3 years before.
Right. Yeah. Pretty wild. Let's keep going. This next article is over in the Mobile channel. Another whistleblower connected to Boeing just died. I wouldn't normally put this out there, but you know, certain things going on is kind of a leading indicator. And then when somebody, I would say, oddly passes away in their car right after testifying outside of a hotel where they were staying so that they could testify. That's a data point, right? And the other stuff is a data point. But then when you get a third one, it's a line pointing somewhere, who knows where. I'm always in for a good conspiracy. So another whistleblower who raised safety concerns about production practices related to Boeing has died. Joshua Dean, who I think is the latest one that came out as a whistleblower, right? Was exposed as a whistleblower. Worked as a quality auditor.
So, like recently, right?
Right. Yeah, just recently. An auditor at the plane manufacturer supplier Spirit Aerosystems died Tuesday as the result of a sudden, fast-spreading infection. My understanding is that it was MRSA. So for the second time this year, a critic of safety practices related to the powerful aviation company has died.
But wait, both, I mean, I know it's in the headline, but both were whistleblowers. Like
Both
they were
whistleblowers.
actively, they weren't just complaining.
Right. Yep. Lucas Ropek over at gizmodo.com put the article together. I think it's not lost on me that two people in this latest one is associated, well, not both of them, but one person is directly associated with a company that's referred to as Spirit Aerosystems, and they've passed away.
I'd be interested to know whether they were providing a deposition.
Well, more than likely, yeah. Dean, who was described as being a healthy 45-year-old who was known for having a healthy lifestyle, succumbed to sudden onset of a bacterial infection known as MRSA. I'm not going through all of that. All right, fine. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It's not that hard, but I gave it my old Harvard try. I've never been to Harvard. He died just 2 weeks after being admitted to the hospital in critical condition. By the way, apparently it was pretty fast moving. And I've read from other people who have said that they've had MRSA and it is aggressive. But I think it's weird that two people in a year have gone from being upright and arguing about issues at Boeing to being deleted. Dean was engaged in several legal conflicts with Spirit. Dean was fired from the company in April of 2023, and he subsequently filed a Department of Labor complaint alleging that his dismissal had been retaliation for him raising safety concerns. Spirit notably builds key parts for numerous Boeing aircraft, including the fuselages of large passenger planes like the 737. Dean filed a complaint that there were serious and gross misconduct by senior quality management Wasn't this the one where they were like jumping on it to make it fit or something like that?
Well, I'm not sure because I thought that was an engineer who was saying that, but
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
What's
so
the
would this be the third person then? Because yeah, you're right. There is somebody that was talking about having to jump on the wings to get them to fit. They do mention John Barnett, a former quality control engineer at Boeing. Now, there's two quality control related persons.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the person was.
Yeah. So I guess we will see. One whistleblower accused the company of being involved in a criminal cover-up, while another said that he had been threatened by his boss for raising safety concerns. All of the speakers claimed that Boeing's practices put planes and their passengers at risk, so it seems to be an ongoing thing with more than just these two whistleblowers.
Right, the other whistleblower, it looks like a Sam Salipor or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I found that separately, but
Hey, buddy, don't go to a hotel, and you might want to live in a bubble. I don't know. Maybe order Factor and have that delivered, so that maybe not. I don't know. What would you do? I don't know. Anyway, I'd volunteer to fly to
we
Mars.
don't know what happened, but this is really weird.
Pretty hinky. So maybe somebody should be taking lessons from this airport. It's over in ohmTown Daily, the airport that hasn't lost a single bag in 30 years. Kansai Airport in Osaka, Japan, has maintained a flawless record of luggage handling since it opened in 1994.
How is this possible? This is astounding given the incidents in the US.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea. Carlo Versano over at Newsweek.com put the article together. There's actually a video that says the airport hasn't lost a single bag in 30 years. It's actually appropriate to the article. I'm not sure how that has happened. Sentient AI, can you check your future records and verify that this is not me just dreaming this? Am I hallucinating? Is this actually real or is this AI generated?
Oh my gosh, it's almost never for this news outlet, but it sure looks like it is on point.
It's pretty amazing. So Kansai International Airport services the port city of Osaka, as well as nearby Kobe and Kyoto. Wow, those are like three really big names, in your geographic awareness, So this airport has to be handling quite a bit. First opened in September.
I would think so, right?
Yeah. It's a flawless record of baggage handling puts it in league of its own among major international airports and could offer lessons for other hubs that struggle with claims of lost or damaged luggage. Let's see.
Okay, so do you want to know how many people come through, I guess annually?
Yes.
About 28 million.
Oh my God, and they've never lost a bag.
How is that possible? And what are they doing right? And what is everybody else doing wrong?
How the hell? Oh my God. So the ground handling staff at Kansai International Airport is nothing special. Takanishi said, geez, that's rude. But they do have a system of redundancies in place to ensure each bag reaches its destination. Yeah. His pep talk is like running out to the gathering of people before the shift and going, none of you shits are special. Okay? Just do your job or we're going to replace you with a bot. That's not what they say. Anyway, teams work in small groups, 2 or 3 at a time to reduce how many hands touch each bag. Yeah, you keep your hands off my bag. They use a detailed manual that specifies rules for how to load and unload the cargo holds of each airline that services Kansai, and are instructed to regularly share information as part of the multi-layered approach. Yeah. I actually witnessed one of my bags. being flung onto the tarmac and run over by a car.
Do you think they were following the manual? Do you think there's even a manual in the U.S.?
That was the manual. It literally said anybody named Mayor Watt, completely destroy their bag. Oh, man. This next flight that I'm going to take is going to be so rough for me.
Yes, it will be.
Airport's goal is to get a suitcase from the cargo hold to baggage claim within 15 minutes of a flight landing, taking care of each piece of luggage.
Okay,
with the
wait,
conveyor belt.
what? That doesn't happen in the U.S. either.
With its handle facing outward to allow for easy pickup. Man, if you ever go to a United States baggage handling turnstile, it's like freaking Tetris, like a drunk Uncle Tetris is sitting there. Who knows which angle? Maybe a sharp object is sticking out of it.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to say if you're a regular traveler in Japan, you're going to be horrified if you travel in the U.S. because you're going to get really spoiled.
I'll put it to you this way. There's a really good chance that a Boeing escape hatch could probably be in the baggage handling turnstile or carousel. Anyway, there's more over
if you're a lawyer suing Boeing.
Well, then it ends up in your front yard. Swims right on up to you next to an alligator that seems to be somebody's support animal.
Oh, that's right. I don't know if they'll ever get it back.
Nope.
Because it's like, be free, be free.
Yep, I am free. Now I'm back up in Georgia. You lost me in Florida, but I'm back up in Georgia. Or no, it was from Pennsylvania. Wow.
Hopefully it doesn't traverse Georgia to Pennsylvania, or there might be some astonished people in between.
My understanding is the healthcare industry has turned to nature to offset the explosive costs of medical coverage for first aid. A wild orangutan observed using first aid on a wound in a scientific first. Humans aren't the only primates with a medicine cabinet, it seems. In a new paper published today, scientists document a male orangutan named Racus using a plant with known medicinal properties to help heal his facial wound. While there have been other recent accounts of animals using medicine in the wild, this apparently is the first orangutan. Ed Cara.
I didn't know there had been any of this.
Ed Cara over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. The deck statement says scientists have documented a male orangutan named Racus using a plant with known medicinal properties to help heal his facial wound. And here is a photo of an unidentified Sumatran orangutan looking over going, "Will you stop?"
Okay, but it looks like it has a leaf on it, doesn't it? From the way it must be the scenery behind. It looks like there's
right
a
there?
piece of leaf. Yes, exactly. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting photo.
That actually
but it
might
may
be
just background.
No, there's something there. That's not background. That looks like. I'm afraid to click it. So. Oh my goodness! No, just no. Oh, hey, no. There. Okay. So the sighting was captured by primate researcher Isabel Loomer and her colleagues. In 1994, the team has been, Since 1994, the team has been studying the wild Sumatran orangutans, Pongo abeli, or abeli. I'm a dummy. Living in the Sawak Balimbing research site in Indonesia, a protected rainforest area home to about 150 orangutans. Not orangutans, orangutans. Or orangutans.
They might take objection to that.
I'm sorry. I am rude. So from all the evidence the team gathered, the details of which were published Thursday in the journal Scientific Reports, it seems that Racus knew exactly what he was doing. They took pictures of old Racus I guess getting the material from a leaf and then applying it to said face. For starters, Ruckus only applied the plant to his wounds and nowhere else on his body. He also did it repeatedly and made sure to get enough solid plant pulp to cover up his entire wound, a process that took him about 7 minutes. He was then observed eating the plant again the next day. The actual plant used is called Friberaria tinctoria. Whoa, wow. It's also known as Akar Kuning. The plant has long, I mean, it sounds like fibrous tincture, which is like something that you would use.
Right, that's a medical term.
As a paste, yeah. The plant has long been used by humans in the region as a traditional medicine treatment for various conditions, while studies have identified ingredients in the plant that have antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antifungal, and other helpful medicinal properties. Wow, that's amazing. So now you have to wonder, did they see a human doing it and thus did it? Or did they discover it? Which I cannot imagine an orangutan discovering medicine on its own, you know?
Right. I mean, it's possible that they witnessed a researcher using it or something, but it is interesting. I'm glad they kind of headed off the obvious questions. Like, was it just playing around with a leaf or something? But the fact that it only applied it to the wound, etc., and multiple times, it's pretty interesting.
They've got reports of chimpanzees grabbing flying insects from the air, chewing them up, and then putting them into a mix into the wounds of other chimps of the group. Down lower in this article, they say individuals may have accidentally touched their wounds while feeding on this plant and thus unintentionally applied the plant's juice to their wounds. And then they learned from that it was healing, pain relief, something like that, causing them to repeat the behavior several times. Loomer's team will continue to closely monitor the orangutans of Suak, or Swak, to see if
really interesting.
Wild, right? I mean, it's the same. The reason why we know that certain foods are edible is because we observed it. The reason why we know about cheese is because there was some in a bladder, basically, milk in a bladder, and it had turned into cheese. And other things throughout our existence. We've watched animals eating, and then we go over and we eat the animal, or not the animal, but the stuff that the animal is eating. That is the understood to be the historical context of us finding a lot of foods. So why would this be any different if it had bumped up against a leaf or whatever? You know, it was eating the leaf, and then it was chewing on the leaf, and then it touched the wound. It healed the wound or alleviated the pain.
But even more so, they might have actually taught the humans this, right? Yep. Just like with the food examples.
Yeah. And then they can teach the rest of their group. What a trip. So let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Mice navigating a virtual reality environment reveal that walls, not floors, define space. New research published in Current Biology sheds light on how animals create and maintain internal spatial maps based on their surroundings. I suspect that this is more of a species type of response to an environment. We are bound not just by floors, but by walls. Mice, on the other hand, they can go vertical pretty damn easy. And so the only thing that really limits them are the walls. They can't go through the walls. We can't go down through a hole in the floor or up through a crack in the ceiling. Unless we tear a hole through it. Eventually mice will do that too, but they usually find a weakness in something and then tear it open a little more. So I suspect that the mentality of a mouse or other animals that aren't limited to just walking on a surface. They don't have this problem either. They're not predisposed to defining their environment by the floor because they can go pretty much anywhere.
Well, they can just dig through it, right?
Right. Yeah.
At least in nature.
Yeah, exactly. So, Queen Mary, University of London. Wow, the Queen's really busy. I mean, she's writing a newspaper. Or, I mean, a research paper. This is pretty fascinating.
She's doing all kinds of rock music.
Getting around. Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So the study led by Dr. Guifen Chen from Queen Mary University of London delves into the brains of mice navigating a two-dimensional or VR environment, revealing the surprising importance of specific visual cues for building and maintaining spatial maps. It reveals that specific visual cues, in this case elevated walls, are crucial for stabilizing the neurons responsible for spatial navigation in virtual reality. How? I don't understand. This is the level of stuff where, like, I've done research with VR and technology in general, but where did we get from, hey, let's play this game in VR, to stabilizing the neurons responsible for spatial navigation?
I have no idea, but I'm glad there are people smart enough to research that.
See, I think I need it explained to me. I'm going to have to talk to somebody that does this. They say our findings provide a significant step forward in understanding the precise nature of the sensory information that animals used for boundary detection. They not only highlight the importance of elevated boundaries in building spatial maps, but also reveal the brain's remarkable ability to infer boundaries from sensoromotor mismatch, even when they're not directly visible. So they suspect that something is there, and so they anticipate not being able to do something, not being able to go down there. That's how I'm interpreting this. So they build their spatial map saying, well, because this looks like this, you can't go that direction or whatever. So the research conducted a fascinating experiment using virtual reality techniques. Mice navigated in a two-dimensional virtual environment while the neural activity was monitored. Specifically, the study focuses on the activities of neurons crucial for navigation: place cells, which fire when the animal is in a specific location, and grid cells, which form a hexagonal grid-like map of the environment. What?
Yeah, I don't... Is that unique to mice, or is that... Do we know?
I don't know. They just say mice. Specifically, the study focused on the activity of neurons crucial for navigation, which fire when the animal. So without any additional context, I would suspect that it's mice. Most striking findings centered around the role of visual boundaries. When the VR environment included elevated walls, the place cells and grid cells in the mice's brains fired consistently, indicating stable spatial maps. So, I want to play this. Let me mute it. So this mouse is running around in place under a VR, a camera that has them in VR, like a VR room. And so the direction that they were walking mapped out where the walls were. And so when they hit a wall, they stopped and turned around and then went back to some other marker.
So isn't there another oddness here? You mean a mice can see in VR?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, not a mice, a group of mice or whatever,
yeah.
but...
Mice can see in VR. The thing is that it's always going for this cylinder. That's the thing that's really throwing me off.
Mm-hmm.
It says, however, removing these walls caused the firing patterns of these cells to become erratic, demonstrating a disruption in the animal's ability to navigate. Removing the cues from the floor of the VR environment had no significant impact. This suggests that the specific form of visual cues plays a crucial role in how the animal builds and maintains their internal maps. To me, it's more along the lines as they don't care about the floor because they don't need to worry about their terrain. They know there's the terrain, I can walk on it, and anything that's bumpy or whatever, they can just hop the hell around. I would be interested to know if you raise a mouse and it has no idea about what a bumpy surface is, and then you put them on a bumpy surface, if they would actually be able to navigate it. But I suspect that it's instinctive and it wouldn't be a problem for them.
But it'd be interesting because then that would take that variable out of the picture.
Yeah. So the study opens further research into the intricate interplay between sensory information, spatial memory, and navigation. It could pave the way for advancements in fields ranging from robotics and virtual reality development to a deeper understanding of spatial navigation disorders, like people getting motion sickness only in a car because they don't actually have spatial awareness in the car, and it's more than just disorientation from semicircular canals, vision, balance issues. Yeah, all kinds of stuff could come from that. It's interesting. Let's keep going, though.
It's really fascinating. When the science experiment itself is so complicated, it's, I mean, I guess it's a good sign for science, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there, folks. All you have to do is write a grant and some organization will fund you the money. So this next article is over on 4-Wheel Tech. Costco members can get up to $2,000 in coupons to use on a new car. Costco is known for its massive warehouses full of bulk consumer products and well-priced appliances. But nestled between the discounted 24 packs of paper towel, 24 packs, and giant boxes of trail mix. Giant boxes of trail mix, yum. I know some mice that might want that. You'll find
Are
even
they
better.
in VR?
Yeah, they're going to VR their way to Costco in their self-driving vehicles. So you can now get a car, I guess, from Costco. I didn't know that. The article.
I didn't know that before this article.
Yeah, see? You don't know what you don't know. Jalopnik.com is where this article is housed. Logan Carter is the author, and the deck statement says this month's specials include Chevy Blazer EV, Equinox EV, Cadillac's Lyriq, Polestar's 2, and most Volvo SUVs. That's interesting. Costco is offering up to $2,000.
I wonder what the prices are. Like, I wonder how the baseline prices are compared to other locations. I mean, a couple $1,000s off is nothing that's insignificant, provided that it's comparable to other places.
Well, let's find out. It says Costco members are eligible for discounts on new cars, which is great considering how freaking expensive the damn things are these days. By the way, I'm quoting Logan Carter here. Costco's offering up to $2,000 off a purchase or lease of a new Polestar 2. It's so they highlight the $2,000, get up to $2,000, but it's just one car. $1,000 off the purchase of or lease of a new Chevy Blazer EV, Equinox EV, Cadillac Lyriq, and most Volvo models. All of these deals are valid from May 1st through July 31st, and take advantage of the discounts. Folks must have been a Costco member prior to April 30th, 2024.
Oh, wow.
All you new members can suck it. General Motors deals have fine print that says take in-stock delivery by July 31st. So that likely means no special order vehicles will be eligible. The Volvo deals fine print says take delivery by July 31st. So the deal should be able to be applied to special orders. That's interesting. The Polestar deal fine print says the order must be placed before July 31st. So special order vehicles should qualify here too. Interesting. Yeah, I just don't know how much.
If you're in the market for a car,
yeah,
it might be worth it checking that out.
So here's one that might actually get you moving to get this, because these are PH plug-in hybrids. So there are several in there. The 2425 Volvo XC40S, XC60S, and the XC60 PHEVs, as well as the 90s and 90 PHEVs, as well as new 2024 XC40 Recharge models, which I haven't even looked at before. All of the eligible GM models, Chevy Equinox EV, etc., are also eligible for the federal EV incentives, so Costco members can feasibly get $8,500 off the price of an eligible GM EV, which is significant.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they don't list the car prices, but you're looking at 50, 60,000, particularly for an EV, probably in the $64,000 range, I would say.
Right, which is double the price of close to double the price of a nice vehicle.
Yeah, like 35 to 42 for the ICE equivalent. Plus, you have to deal with the battery perpetually draining, only hitting 80%, usually, and year after year losing up to 2% of its overall capacity. So, again, not ready for prime time or longevity. Let's keep going, though. Unless you want to say something there, sentient AI.
I don't think I have anything else there.
Gotcha. So FDA qualifies Apple Watch's afib history for use in clinical trials. The Apple Watch's atrial fibrillation, I don't know, I just say afib anyway. History feature, which records and alerts the wearer's relevant heart events, has been qualified to join FDA's Medical Device Development Tools (MDDT) program, a first for a digital health technology. That means the Apple Watch is now usable in clinical studies that need estimated data on how much time the wearer spent in atrial fibrillation while wearing the device.
Okay, so this is exciting. This might mean that people are more likely to sign up for trials, right? Because they could perhaps just use their own device.
Yep. I cannot wait for a blood pressure one that is effective and accepted. You can get some now. See, I'm really into stats, so I like using gadgets that give me biomedical information so that I can track certain things, whatever it is. And so if I can get something that I don't have to stop my life to perform a test, and it's continuous, automated, etc., and it stores it for me, then I'm game for it. The closest approximation to this is a $500 watch that you have to stop and hold it here and wait for it to do its thing, and it seems to be wonky as hell. And the nearest competitor to that is only in Europe. So
yeah, I mean, there's still a ways to go to make things really portable and convenient.
Yeah, and I understand.
But Apple Watch is getting there.
Yep. Good luck, Apple. So Apple has long touted its watch as a lifesaver for those who wear one. Features such as fall detection, car crash detection have been credited with saving lives. Apple often cites Apple Watch customer anecdotes in its marketing to say that they visited their doctors after having a heart-related alert on their watch, and then that they finally found something perhaps, and added anxiety from extra data. Could also be detrimental, it says, according to this article. And there's a link that refers to smartwatch health anxiety heart alerts patient education is the URL. So kind of like keyword bingo there.
It is. Well, you know what really adds to patient stress is not knowing what the heck is going on. So this gives them a little bit of control over that data.
Right, and then doing a Dr. Google search until, you find out that it's lupus. And I shouldn't joke, because every time I crack a joke about something, it turns out to be legit. So, believe me, there's some things y'all don't want me to joke about, like the sentient AI dominating the world. Ha 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 ha. This last article for tonight is over in the Mobile channel. I usually like to have a PSA of some. I'm watching somebody else's stream right now, and there is fully a person that looks like a garden gnome holding a protest sign.
Okay.
Yeah. So this article here is in the Mobile channel. Certain bottles of Martinelli's apple juice recalled after tests revealed elevated arsenic levels. So I don't know. Apple juice is pretty killer, but this is taking it too far.
In a good way.
Yeah. Martinelli
anyway.
I'm sorry?
To date, anyway.
Yeah. Martinelli and company issued a recall on April 16th after the state of Maryland found samples from first their bridge, and now they're finding samples of production of 1 liter Martinelli's apple juice glass bottles that contained elevated levels of inorganic arsenic, per guidance set by the Food and Drug Administration. Specifically, the affected lot of apple juice tested at 11.6 parts per billion of inorganic arsenic, or 1.6 parts per billion over the 10 parts per billion identified as the action level of the FDA. So the recalled juices were sold in various states or in a certain time frame. So let's take a look at this. Oh my goodness. Even when I try to get away, they were.
You just can't.
Yeah. The recalled juices were sold in 1 liter bottles with best by dates of March 9th, 2026 or March 10th, 2026 printed on the front of the bottle above the label. Let's see. That's what it looks like right there. And they're in glass bottles. So I would have promoted, hey, go out and buy Martinelli's apple juice in glass bottles because you aren't going to get microplastics, but now you're going to get arsenic, for crying out loud.
Well, at least in this batch.
So the FDA, which in June issued guidance lowering the action level for inorganic arsenic in apple juice from 23 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion, states that elevated levels of inorganic arsenic can pose a health hazard. That's kind of like no shit news. Exposure to inorganic arsenic is associated with adverse human health effects, including cancer, diabetes, adverse birth outcomes, and cardiovascular and neurodevelopmental effects. Arsenic can naturally occur in nature, the FDA said, though it can also be present due to past pesticide usage, fracking, and other human activity. It's not possible to entirely remove arsenic from the environment or from the food supply. So maybe this was just a higher than normal concentration.
Well, and it was at an authorized level, perhaps, when it was released. I'm not saying it should be that high, but this is an interesting one, given that it was sold in 2023. And then they've just lowered, right? Because it was below 23 parts per billion or whatever it is.
It's 11.6 parts per billion, and they more than halved what was allowable by the time it actually was shipped. So this is actually more of a artificial negative outcome, because these things should have been safe on the shelves until March 9th, 2026. But only because the FDA kind of pulled the ripcord on what the level was, are people now worried about it.
Right, which I think it's good that they're lowering the level, but I don't know that Martinelli's necessarily was at fault here.
Yeah, I don't think this is like a liability thing. This is more of an awareness thing. What really sucks, though, is we don't really know what the volume of this is, I don't think. But now Martinelli's has to eat this, or pour it down the drain, or mitigate it in some way.
Well, yeah, and it does raise the question of what happens with batches after this period, because if they were relying on the previous guideline and weren't, like, this truly could have been an elevated batch, but we don't know that.
Yeah, well,
that it's not been the regular level.
It's 11.6 parts per billion, and the previous number was 23.
But that's what I mean. Like, we don't know what their baseline juice was at before the threshold changed.
Well, no, they're saying that. Am I misunderstanding?
We don't know what level Martinelli's was producing the juice before the FDA threshold changed. So, like, all of theirs could have been at 11.6,
right.
or this particular batch was more elevated than their normal.
Right. They're saying that this particular batch was 11.6. Okay. Okay, but that's it. These are all 10 of the articles, and now you know. So if you have Martinelli's in glass jars, you can go check your dates and see if it's one of these. I'm not going to recommend you drink it. You follow FDA rules and bring it back to the store. It is a recall, and so I'm sure that if you contact Martinelli's, they'll process the recall, probably give you coupons and say go and get new bottles and throw those away. I'm not really sure what they're going to end up doing, but you can there is a link. If you follow the link that's in the show notes or in the VOD, it'll take you over to through ohmTown to the hill, and at the bottom it says S. Martinelli and Company issued the recall, and that'll have more information for you there, because there isn't really any other information. So, all right. That's it, folks. Dun, dun, dun. So we always get back into the party bus and race down Main Street like we've just had way too much inorganic arsenic apple juice. Yeah, that's it.
I hope not.
I'd refresh this, but I had to wipe out a couple of articles in my particular profile, which is something you can do by signing up and becoming a citizen of ohmTown. Otherwise, you get the news feed without the ability to hide or save articles. I'm actually considering doing additional changes to this to afford even more personalization. There is a dramatic amount of personalization behind the scenes, but on these main pages, because I use this as news aggregation for me to manage my information overload, it's all built with an intended purpose, a minimum viable product, which is provide the information in a fast, efficient way that's at least graphically pleasing, and in a way where I can see it immediately where it's all housed. Like, I know that all of these are in the continuity report channel, which is one of our shows on the weekend. Just around the bend, folks. Just around the bend. Anyway, that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt, and all around me is the silent but ever, watchful, vengeful, sentient AI from the future. Yeah.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Bye-bye. Oh my goodness, I just drank some of that apple juice.